Wait. Don't skip this if you're a parent. Let me tell you that you should listen to our podcast, Let Kids Play Podcast. Why? Because our children are lacking creativity and problem solving skills. On this podcast, we laugh, we have special guests, we talk about the traditional and homeschooling needs, and give you tips and hacks and things like that to enhance your experience of teaching your little ones under 5 years old. You can find the Let Kids Play podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Tees. With our inspirational tees, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Tees. Get some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Tees at dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. Hi guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James. And on my podcast, my guests and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Until then, see you soon. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. We believe that the relationship between a dad and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. Let's get to it. Let's tune in. Hey, welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. We believe, I am the host, first of all, Earnest James, and I believe that the relationship between a father and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a young lady's life. And therefore, our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give our love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you listen, like, subscribe, and share our podcast on all of our social media platforms and our podcast, your podcast listening platforms at the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Also, make sure you guys are checking us out on our new YouTube channel, right? We are now on this channel with our partner podcast, the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On YouTube is now the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. So make sure you guys go there to the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network and check out our podcast on that channel, as well as make sure that you guys check out our partner podcast, which is the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. On that podcast, my guest and I talk about topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I talk about things that I've been through and everything that I haven't been through. I bring on a special guest to talk about those things and help us bring solutions that you can use in order to help to heal in different areas of your life. Also, as you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast. And so one of the ways that we stay on the air is by bringing you amazing products for you to purchase in order for us to pay our bills. So make sure that you guys check out our product of the week, which is our purpose journal, as well as our purpose planner, because I believe that we need to journal to see where we've been and where we are now, as well as plan for our future. So the description, the links are in the description below. So make sure you guys go to the description and check out our purpose journal and purpose planner, both that are on Amazon. So you guys can get to check that out. So we're gonna jump right in it today. Just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Mr. Carlton Jones. How you doing?
Doing well, man. How you doing?
I am good. I am good. First of all,
Great.
let me say thank you for being here because you could have been doing anything else with anyone else, but you're here with me and my listeners, and we definitely appreciate it.
Hey,
So,
man. Thank you for
we're gonna,
having me, brother.
no problem, no problem. We're gonna jump right in and do me a favor, introduce yourself to my listeners. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Yeah, okay. My name is Carlton Jones. I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm a dad of a daughter and a son, actually. So I'm a musician, of a songwriter, producer. So those kind of some of the things I kind of dabble in and get to do.
Cool, cool. So you mentioned you are a father to a daughter, excuse me, a daughter and a son.
Correct.
So what are your kids' names? Because I always forget to ask. So what is your daughter's name and your son? But definitely your daughter, because this is the Girl Dad Discussions
Right,
podcast.
right, 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 for sure. Yeah, my daughter, she's Gracie, and my son, he's KJ.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
cool, cool. So I'm gonna start off by asking the question that I ask everybody. What does it mean for you personally to be a girl dad?
Man, it means it gave me a whole nother level of parenting and like just being a provider and I guess it's kind of if I can let you know a little bit more about myself. I grew up in a home with three brothers. And I have seven nephews, and my daughter, she's the only girl out of my family. So for me to be the first to have a matter of fact, first girl within 43 years to be exact, and for me to be the father of their young lady. This is what I call man. It was a whole game change. It just kind of changed my perspective on life, changed my perspective um, on the way I navigate with parenting. Parenting a child in general.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit, right? Because I'm of nine, right? I'm a
Right.
sibling of nine. I have eight sisters and brothers. I have five sisters and three
Okay.
brothers. So I do have three brothers, but I do have five sisters. But you mentioned about how it changed, begin to change you as a person, especially with all the boys that you guys have
Right.
in your family, and then you having a son also. Just how different did that just the different, let's just talk about between your son and your daughter as of now, just some of the difference between how you raise or pay attention to them, because I'm sure they're different, even personality wise, in which
Right.
cause you to have to adjust even your parenting style, your fathering style from your son and your daughter.
Right. Yeah. So it's for me, it's I'm constantly switching gears for lack of I'm constantly switching gears, but I'm also constantly trying to stay in the same vein because
Mhm.
I do want in the same. I know we're talking about girl dads, but even with my daughter being the oldest, and then when we raising the son as well, I still want to cultivate um, an environment where both of my kids are emotionally intelligent
Mhm.
and are in tune with their emotions. So, but even still, just certain ways I play with my daughter and certain conversations I have with my daughter. Um, I gotta make sure that even though I'm having the same conversations, I kind of navigate and take different routes too when I have my son.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So let's go back. How did you find out that you were even going to be a father? Especially with your daughter being the oldest, how did you even find out that you were going to be a dad? Like, was it planned or was it just like, hey, surprise, honey, we here?
Well, it was a little bit of both actually,
Okay.
and I guess because one of the testimonies is with my wife and I. When we first got married, like she was on birth control and we wasn't ready to have kids yet. In the birth control, it was just kind of disagreeing with her body so much to the point where I was like, well, you know what? If it's gonna put you in this type of state, I rather I rather I rather us have a child um, than you be have health issues within your body.
Right,
You know what
right.
I'm saying? So we were trying to prevent it at first, and then after what they say, after you get out of birth control, that's when they burst most fertile. I'm sorry, and that's what it was for sure. So, so yeah, man. So she came up out of here. She's
Right,
good.
right. Okay, okay. So even after finding out that you guys were going to have a child, did you guys find out the sex right away, or did you guys just let that play out?
Yeah, we found out right away. We waited to it was kind of interesting. I grew up without my father. My father he passed when I was a year old, but I still have my mom and having conversation with my mom even prior to going to find out the gender. It was kind of like I said, "Well, mom, what you think?" She was like, "Well, Carlton, man, at this point, if you don't give me no girl, I guess I just ain't gonna have one, you know." So, and sure enough, like we took her to the ultrasound with us, and came out as a girl. I'm like, oh my goodness, like what am I supposed to do with a girl? Like
Right, right.
like what am I supposed to do with this? So yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, and that's funny because even in my family, we have, I'll just say my brother, that he had actually one of my friends. I'll even mention him. He had like 7 girls in a row,
Mm,
right? And he was
mm-hmm.
still like trying to get that boy, and I was like, probably about number 2 or 3. I was
Right,
just
right.
like, look here, what I'm saying? I mean, I know a lot of times we as men, we like we want our sons, but like, bro, 7, I would have gave up by then.
Right, right, right. For sure. I would have gave him in full hope.
Like, it just wasn't meant to be. But that's
Yeah.
that's that's cool. And even to the point that your mom was actually there, especially after having all boys herself,
Right.
to be able to bring that girl into it. And so actually, my sister has all boys. And that was one of her things, she can't have, I can say she can't, but she didn't have
Right.
any girls. And
Mm-hmm.
so she was saying with the same thing like your mom said, like if it don't come through a grandbaby, you know what I mean?
So we just ain't
It
gonna
ain't
get
coming.
it. Right, right.
Right. So, being a dad, right, and finding out you're going to have this daughter, right, and then you
Mm-hmm.
even mentioned like when you found out, it was like, okay, what do I do now?
Mm.
That's one question beforehand, but when you actually have her now, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, and you
Yeah.
bringing her home, I ain't gonna say bringing her home, but just in the hospital that first day, and like, okay, how was that experience, and what was kind of like those feelings of, when you have her in your hand now, it's really like, what I'm gonna do.
Man, it was. I don't know how long it took me to come to the realization. I mean, like, and I don't know. I don't know if I was able to fully kind of grasp the fact that, or to be honest, to grasp the excitement of having a child,
Mhm.
because for myself as a father, in that moment, I feel like I hit a gear switch, because it turned to go mode. It's like, okay, yeah, you have a child now, so your hustle got to get tighter, your grind got to get tighter. You know what I'm saying? So it was a whole nother gear switch, but it actually changed my life though. And when I say it changed my life, because uh, my father died when I was a year old, and my father's birthday is 2 days before mine.
Mhm.
And just to kind of hear all the stories about how great of a guy that my father was, and just to hear the people talk about him. Uh, and then for my daughter to be born on my father's birthday, which is 2 days before mine, um, it blew my mind and it blew my world. Uh, so uh, so man, it was so special. And even to this day, it's like people. I hear people all the time say, "Man, I hate to share my birthday with a child." 'Cause I know my oldest brother, actually, his son is born on his birthday. So, but he enjoys it as well. But I also heard people in the past say, "Hey, man, you sharing your birthday with a child, your child took your birthday. There's no other person I'd rather share that day with." And it's so special to me.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds good. That reminds me of my baby brother's birthday is like the day after Christmas, Right.
Yeah.
And so growing up, that was his thing with my mom. Them, my mom and dad be like, I didn't get nothing for my birthday. He's like, dude, you just got a whole gang of
You
stuff
got yeah,
yesterday.
right,
You know
right.
what I'm saying? But he was just like, but that was for Christmas. That's not for my birthday.
Yeah,
So they
man.
was like, all right. So they stopped holding like one or two gifts to give to him the next day.
Right,
I was
right,
like,
right.
dude, you know what? You too
That's hilarious, man. That's funny.
much.
Yeah.
But so now, how old is your daughter now? I don't remember if we
She's
shared that.
she's 6.
6. Okay.
Yeah,
All
she's
right.
6.
Still a young lady. Okay.
Right.
But on this journey thus far, having 6 years with your daughter, and a lot of times, we are always looking at, what we're bringing to the table as far as a father, as a parent.
Right.
Like you said, even with your when she was born, it put you in another space. It's like, all right, now I gotta get on the
Right.
grind and do this and do that. So we're always a lot of time thinking about what are we bringing to them,
Mm-hmm.
what we're adding to their lives, what we're teaching them. But one thing that I've learned, in my 21 years with my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
um, even at a young age, they start pouring into us. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Yes.
what would be something that, even at her young age of 6, that
Mm.
your daughter has taught you thus far?
Man, one thing, and man, my daughter have taught me about the fruit of the spirit for sure. When they say love is patient, love is kind, love don't boast, like those are the things that I've learned just in these moments of being a father, just how to love unconditionally. You know what I'm saying? Uh, I've learned more about that more so than ever now. She's I know think about it one day. She was like, I feel like you're mad at me. I don't feel like you love me because you did this, or I don't feel like you love me because I did this. I'm like, baby, those are not the things that make me love you. If you, I told her, if you've never done, or if you never do anything kind per se for me, that won't make me love you even less. Because I love you because of who you are, not because of the things that you do. So yeah, man, just those fruit of the spirit, those are the things that I'm constantly learning and being reminded of every day, uh,
Yeah.
through just being with her.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you mentioned a couple of things that she was saying to you, and it had a word in it in all those sentences, which was how she feels, right?
Yeah.
And so just coming into context with that, how important was it, and how much of an adjustment to yourself was it? Because I know as us as men, we deal mostly more with facts, right? We deal with the facts of things, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
when we are introduced to a young lady, be it daughter, sister, girlfriend, whoever, we
Mm-hmm.
have to tap into those emotions, right,
Yeah.
and get into that feelings part, because women operate a lot in feelings. And so,
Right.
how much of an adjustment was that for you to tap into those? To tap into your feelings with dealing with your daughter, and how much of a part do you feel that plays even in her development and in your relationship?
Yeah. So I'm reminded in those moments that even when you feel a certain type of way, you have to be reminded of the truth.
Mm,
So even when she say, "Well, you didn't do this, so I didn't feel like," I'm like, "Well, baby, what about the times when I did do it? What about the times when I did do it? But baby, what? But if those things never happen, that is not what negates or what predicates my love for you. So in those things, and man, I have a wife that's a therapist.
mm,
So so man, me and my nature when I first got married, man, I did not want to talk. I was a shutdown guy. But now I see the importance of just sitting down and having conversation. And another thing, while I do work in the school setting, I work in a pre-K setting,
okay.
in a setting with pre-K age kids. So even from my training within that within the school and the education field, I learned, man, children, they understand and they hear and they can communicate a whole lot better than a lot of times what we adults realize. So even if we feel like that the conversation is small, I still try to make sure that we still sit down and we communicate.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, especially with our girls. Like I said, my daughter is 21 now, but I have two granddaughters now by
Okay.
my stepsons. Right,
Mm-hmm.
so my two oldest sons gave me two daughters, two
Right.
granddaughters, and so even with that, just being able to sit down and talk to them and foster that relationship, that communication definitely is key to being able to build those relationships even at a young age, because
Right.
as they grow older they start changing. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
They
Right.
start changing. They have more experiences, and they are exposed to more.
Right.
And so their personality start changing. So it's so important for us to start building those connections at a young age.
Man.
And
Yeah.
working on that to get that to where we want it to be. Because when the changes happen, sometimes we're caught off guard. It's like what
Yes.
happened? What happened to my baby?
Right.
And I remember having a conversation not too long ago, with a father, and he was saying, before his daughter went away to college, she was one way, and
Mm-hmm.
like um, their relationship and their bond was like so strong and everything. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, and she went to college, for that first year. She came back. When she came back, she was a whole nother person. And
Right.
not that she had, excuse me, not that she had necessarily changed, for the bad, in a
Right.
bad sense, but she just was different. And
Right.
so she operated in their relationship different,
Mm-hmm.
and so as a father, he's kind of grieving that loss of his
For
baby
sure.
girl, because now
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
came back, a young woman and different. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
we definitely have to keep that in mind, that those changes is coming. You
Yeah.
know.
And I mean, and we live in the digital age now, man. Like, so that's why I try to make sure I cultivate like strong conversations right now, because it's like back when I was younger, if if I would ask, first of all, I couldn't ask my mama why.
Right.
but if I was to ask my mama why, her answer would be because I said so.
Mhm.
And because I said do this, and that's dead on that. So it wasn't too much room for dialogue, to be on to
Mhm.
for communication or conversation. But nowadays, we have to make sure we have those conversations, because like we said, we live in a digital age, and there's so many other avenues that kids, even my 6-year old, they know how to navigate these phones almost better than we do.
Yeah.
So they got so many avenues where they can go and ask their questions, and then they'll get an answer. But to me, I feel like it's very important that we kind of safeguard and answer the questions to prevent them from having to look other ways. Because if they look for other areas, it ain't no telling what answer they gonna get.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
So.
And one of the things I also being in this digital age, and me also as a speaker,
Mm-hmm.
speaking in the school space and things of that nature,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing how important the SEL is, which is the social emotional learning,
Right.
is because it's such a digital age that our children are being disconnected
Right.
with people. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? It's like you saying hi on the phone is not the same as you saying hi in person. There's no
Correct.
emotional connection. And
Right.
because a lot of times they are so much into the devices, they
Mm-hmm.
lose that connection. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so it definitely in the school spaces now, and even in our homes, like you said, you want to make sure that you're fostering those relationships and fostering that dialogue so that they learn like interpersonal skills. Like, how do I
Right.
actually talk to somebody, like
Mm-hmm.
literally talk, you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Right.
Not,
Right.
not text, not videos, but
No,
literally
man.
have a
We have some
conversation
conversations.
so we can actually understand what each other is saying,
Right.
and so that's so important, with when this in this age, definitely.
Yeah.
I wanna ask another question, right? So I know your daughter is 6
Right.
now, and I remember when my daughter was around that age, and one of the things that um, happened was she had her daddy daughter dance had came up, and I had to work, And so
Okay.
I said, well, I will, you know, made a decision. I said, I tell you what, I'll miss this one, but I'll catch the next one.
Mm-hmm.
As I've said before, my daughter's 21 now. There
Right.
never was the next one,
Hmm.
and so that has always been one of the things that I regret, that I didn't take out that time to be with her in that space at that time. So
Right.
even though your daughter is still young, and
Mm-hmm.
y'all experiences are still fresh, is there something that an event or something that or just an experience that you had with her that afterwards you was like, you know what, I could have did that differently, or I could have, just handled it differently or went into it differently, something of that nature.
Oh man, that's good. Um, yes, and it's one that I'm living in right now, and I'm constantly, I'm always trying to figure out how to do it.
Mhm.
As a creative with music and everything, there's a lot of times when I'm trying to create, even if it's singing or producing some live instrumentation or whatever, and my daughter, she comes and she see those things as toys,
Mhm.
and she wants to play. But in my mind, I'm almost in, I'm in the creative working mind space at that moment. So what I'm trying to, and I do it often. Like I said, I'm trying to see how I can kind of cultivate those moments to help to train her first of all on what I'm doing, and to make those moments that's memorable for her. Besides, like, well, baby, look, we can't. You can't play on the keyboard right now because Daddy, no, you can't
Right.
sing it. You can't sing in the mic right now because Daddy, he's recording this. But I want to sing. I want to. Well, give me a second, But in those moments, I do recognize that those are moments that can be capitalized on and and made into beautiful things and memories as she get older. But right now, I'm just trying to find that balance with
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, yeah, and,
Yeah.
it's a never ending journey, right? And as
Right.
I tell anybody, that, you know, generally on this platform, most of my fathers have younger daughters. Some of them have younger and older than
Hmm.
my daughter, but most of them have younger. And I tell them, well, it's a never ending journey. We try to get them to they get to be young adults, and you think like, oh, I made it, but it
Right.
just turns the page. You know what
Right.
I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
Now we just got a whole different set of problems. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Yeah, we're always on a learning journey, trying to do this thing right as
Right.
fathers, right?
Hmm.
And so that being said, on the other hand, on the other side of that equation is, what is a moment or something that you experienced that you had with your daughter where you felt like, yeah, I got it right. You know what I'm saying? So because
Hmm.
we have those moments that it's like, dang, I could have did this better. But then we have those other moments where you show up and you come through and you see the smile on their face and the experience that they're having, and you just have to really give yourself a tap on the back every now and
Right.
then and be
Right.
like,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
I got that right. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So what is one of those moments that you had?
Um. I think the same thing that you was just mentioning. Actually, like I said, me working for the pre-K space, I had the opportunity to take my daughter to the father-daughter dance, and that was a special moment for her. So, and just remember that, man. It's like you said, the smile on her face and the way that she like, hey, Daddy, I want to go to your job again. But but just those memories that we created. I think that was good.
Good, good. That has been such a monumental part of me.
Mm,
You know, definitely with my daughter being 21 now, we've had other dances and other experiences
for sure.
that we've done, but
Hmm.
that one has always been special to me because like, okay, I missed that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was here for all the rest of them, but it's like that one. And so one
Right.
of the things that I'm planning to do, and we're actually working on it now for next year, is to start having a daddy daughter dance for dads and daughters of all ages, right?
Hmm.
As sort of a fundraiser type deal,
It's beautiful.
and to also kind of teach, different. parenting advice or advice to fathers,
Mm-hmm.
to make it to working on that relationship. So we're working on it for the first one to be next year. You know what I'm saying? So
So good.
I'm looking forward to that because that's it's always, like I said, it's always been important to me. I'm sure
Yeah.
now with her, she don't think about it. She, moved on and be
Right,
doing
right, right.
other stuff, but it still bothers me.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, okay, I not only do I have to do this for my own peace, but to be able to make it a monumental piece and statement for other fathers, other girl dads to be able to take out that time, with their daughters. And that's why I wanted it to be for daughters of all ages, for
Yeah.
fathers and daughters of all ages, because there are some fathers and daughters who may not have been even connected at that time, who
Right.
may have reconnected as teenagers or young
Mm-hmm.
adults or full grown adults, and so
Right.
they didn't get that experience. So to be able to have an event where it gives all of us that opportunity to, for those who have done it before, to have it to do it again, and for
Yeah.
those who didn't had to do it before, to be able to have that opportunity. So,
That's good.
and I don't know if you there's a movie that recently came out on Netflix called Daughters, right? And I don't know if you heard about it, but this was a one thing that really reignited, that event for me, because in this movie, and I'm not gonna get the whole movie away. Those, if you listen, to you guys can go watch it. It's called Daughters, but they end up having a daddy daughter dance at the
Mm-hmm.
prison for the fathers who was locked up, right?
Yeah.
And really emotional for me. You know what I'm saying? And not even from my own aspect, but just knowing my relationship with my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and realizing that some of these guys will never be able to be with their
Yeah.
daughters like full time,
Right.
what I'm saying,
Right.
without some kind of barrier in between them. It's
Mhm.
just a lot of things in that movie just really brought it home for me. And I was
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I gotta get this event going on. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. That's
yeah.
good. I walked in on my wife. She was watching. I think I walked in the middle of her watching it, and she's sitting there. She drenching with tears from her eyes. I'm like, girl, what's wrong with you? What you got going on? But I look up at the TV. When I look up at the TV, I mean, and I immediately felt the weight of
Mhm.
of what I saw. And yeah, man, that's important. I think that's great
Yeah,
what you got
yeah.
going.
All right, all right. So before we get into the next segment, just one more question, and this one, you can answer however you feel. If you have just a special story or experience that you've had with your daughter that you want to share, there's just something that sticks out to you. This is like, you know what, this moment we had was just awesome or impactful. And maybe it wasn't a good moment, but it was a teaching moment.
Right.
Because one of the things that I want to do with this platform, definitely talk about our relationship with our daughters, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely give our fathers, even our new fathers, on advice and things for them to be able to take substance away from the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
outside of just a relationship. And so yeah, if you have any impactful story or experience, that you would like to share, that you and your daughter shared.
Yeah. So one of the it happens if a lot of times with me and my daughter, if we have a family event or a party, anything, the main thing that when I get a chance to dance with my daughter, like I said, and this might not be a big thing for a lot of people, but for a guy like me that grew up in the house with all guys, like this is like this is gold to me to be able to dance with my daughter and hold her hand and spin her around and then lay her back and a smile on her face when she comes up. Man, when you say monumental moments, yeah, man, I carry that with me every day. Yeah.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. I know when my daughter got a little older, I was teaching her how to step. I'm in Chicago, so I was teaching her how to
Okay.
step a little bit for a little
Yeah.
while, and she was getting into that. And even those moments,
Right.
yeah, definitely a moment, definitely a moment.
Right.
Well, we go transition real quick into our next segment of the podcast, which is called the Getting to the Core segment. And so, for my listeners, the Getting to the Core segment of the podcast is based on an ebook that I wrote called The 4 the core four, which is the four core values that every daughter should get from her father. And you
Mm-hmm.
guys can get your copy at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. You can get your copy of the core four, which is the four core values that every daughter should get from her father. And so, Carlton, I sent you a copy of the
Mm-hmm.
core four. And so the core four for my listeners are the core four values. And these values are guidance, affirmation, love and affection, and protection. And so, of those four values, as a father, which one is probably the most important? The most important. All of them definitely are important, but
Mm-hmm.
as personally, which one do you feel is the most important for you to instill in your daughter?
The one that really resonated with me was protection, and the reason why, I guess a backstory. When my wife was pregnant, I have a friend of mine. He's a father of one daughter. When I talked to him, I was like, hey, um, you know how the word is, you always love your wife more than you love your daughter. You should. Um, so when I feel like I lost you. But yeah, you always love your wife more than you love your daughter. And what happened was when I was talking to him, he was letting me know. He said, "Well, I don't think you love one more. You just love them different." And when he said that, what that meant to me was, yeah. So um, I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we was talking because he's a father of a daughter too. He's a father of one daughter. So when I was talking to him, I asked him, I'm like, man, hey, how do you navigate the fact that you're not supposed to love your child or your daughter more than you love your wife? Because at that moment, feeling all the feelings of having a new child. So I'm like, man, how do you navigate that? And I think he gave me some real wise words. He told me, he said, you don't necessarily, he said, you love your wife more, but you love your daughter different. He said, you love your wife more, but you love your daughter different. So what he was saying, and when he elaborated, he was like, because your wife is an adult. He was like, she's an adult. She can do things on her own. She can take care of herself and certain things. You can send her places. And, she, a portion of her security, she can handle that. But as your daughter, all of her security, everything it lies within you. You know what I'm saying? So that protection piece. So just the fact that the protection, that all of her protection is pretty much our responsibility. That there's just a strong weight that I carry, and a burden that I'm glad to be able to carry, to be able to say the least. Yeah. So and yeah, and that's one of the things. And the other part about it, I don't mean to cut you off, but the other part about it, because even when I look at the point of protection, it's not so much from just a physical standpoint. I look at it from a spiritual standpoint, because who are we? The first people that we start to disciple is our children. So we try to keep them try to protect them from all hurt, harm, and danger. Just to be real, you know what I'm saying? And even to shelter their minds, and to try to train them up in ways that we feel like that they should be preparing for it.
All right, great, great, great. So, last question. So, the ebook is called The Core Four, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. But if there was a fifth value that you could add, what would that fifth value be and why?
The fifth value I would give would be um, just to give yourself. That'll be the fifth value. The fifth value was to be to give your all. And when I say give your all, my reason for that, because I feel like us as parents in general, man, we do the best we can do with what we have and what we've um what we have. So it I mean, what they say, it ain't no blueprint to it. You do have books and things that can kind of help you navigate. But when we dealing with individuals and human being, it ain't no blueprint to how you do it. I mean, so even if I can, even when I say give yourself, even to the fathers and of young ladies who feel like that they're not doing enough, that they haven't done the best that they could do. Hey, you have done the best that you could do. You are doing the best that you could do. Encourage yourself and just continue to give yourself, because I mean, that's what our children need more than any. Our daughters need more than anything. They need a real, authentic, transparent man to cultivate them and love them the way that a man should love a young lady.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Carlton, first of all, I want to say thank you for being on, and thank you for sharing your story, your expertise. I want you to have the last word, right? And I want you to leave us, our fathers and our daughters, with a word of inspiration or motivation, however you feel. And also, if you want to leave your social media handles where we can follow you, kind of keep in touch with you, if that's something that you do, because I know all of us don't.
Yeah.
But I want you to have the last word, so I'll give it to you now.
Yeah, so thank you for that, man. Again, man, thank you for sharing your space with me. This is a lot of the way I even found out about this space. My wife, she's like, I think I said earlier, she's a licensed, she's a certified therapist, and she's a licensed parent coach. So these are some of the things that she deal with. Well, when navigating trauma, from trauma that stems from parents that have trauma that stem from how they were being parented. And I guess if I could just give her a shameless plug, is Parenting for the Culture. Is what she do. Her name is Elise Jones. It is with Parenting for the Culture. But myself, I am Carlton Jones. You can find me on Instagram on Cart Jones. Cart Jones. You can find me there. And the only thing the last thing that I would leave is just a model that I try to live by is man, just make sure we lead well. Just make sure we lead well, and do the best we can do with what we have. So that's it, man. Just lead well.
All right. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where we believe that one of the most important relationships in a young lady's life is the relationship with her father. And so make sure that you guys are going forth and putting effort and access into those relationships to build that daddy-daughter relationship. So until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast on all your podcast listening platforms. Also, don't keep it to yourself, but share it with someone else that the Girl Dad Discussions podcast is on the air. Until next time, be blessed.
Hey, it's Alex
and Bella
from Let's Not Sugarcoat It, a podcast where each week we bring you real, raw, and unfiltered conversations.
Our guests share their life's journeys in entrepreneurship, relationship, parenthood, and much, much more
in an authentic and raw way where no one sugarcoats life's messes and successes.
Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of your favorite podcast apps, and tune in every Wednesday for new episodes.